Hey guys, welcome back. In the previous episode, we fixed a bug where you were attempted to subscribe to a podcast that already existed. Unfortunately, I just noticed that there's actually, we've introduced another bug here. If you attempt to subscribe to a podcast that doesn't exist, this view is going to blow up because we're not actually returning anything. That's because this else needs to be a finally, because we always want this logic here to be hit. So the podcast does exist, we're going to fetch it like this. If it doesn't exist, then we're going to actually get it from the internet, and finally we're going to create the subscription and redirect you to that page. So yeah, this should now work, which it does. So we are able to subscribe to podcasts that do and don't already exist. So let's log out and just log back in as our test user, just like that. Visit the site again. So we should now be able to look for Python bytes again, subscribe to that, and it's much quicker because it's not actually hitting the web. So I think what I want to do now is similar to the way we have this podcast list here. I want to implement like an episode list so that you can see the latest episodes. So I think the first thing we'll do is head to our URLs here. In fact, let's head to the views file. Let's go to the bottom here, and we probably want something very, very similar to this, but instead of subscription list, it's just going to be let's call this the latest episode list view, or maybe just the list view, because we can probably like filter on query params and make it extremely generic. So the model here is going to be episodes, and let's just filter the episodes. What queries have we got? I think I was playing around in my in the Python shell earlier. So let's just demonstrate what we want to do here. So we want to import subscriptions and not episode. So we want to do something like this, right? We want to say all the subscriptions for the current user, where let's just import a user and say the user is our root user. So we can say, find me all the current subscriptions for our user, and then we can use that as like a subquery to say, find me all of the episodes where the podcast subscription is in the list of subscriptions that we already have. So this is what we kind of need to be returning from that ListView get query. So if I copy this, and in here just do return, and then the user here is going to be our self.request.user. We may need to import episode. I know we already have episode, so I think the next thing to do is go to our URLs for podcasts, and I guess we just want episodes views dot, what do we call it, episode list view as view, and let's just call this episode list. If we go here, just double check our server is still running, we go to episodes plural, it tells us our template does not exist, which is good. So we're going to go here and add a new file and just call this episode list.html. we go in here and just do the old hello world. We should get that response back. So pretty much like our previous ones, we're going to kind of copy some of this template logic. And I think the same as our podcast list, which we can use for, or subscription list, which we can use as inspiration, we're going to loop over the object list. So I'm going to say for episode in object list, and for, let's just render the episode and see what this looks like. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's render this using some cards. I think we had some card examples in our search view here, so maybe we can take this and do some copy paste. We might want to make like a kind of reusable component in the future, but I think for the time being this is fine. I don't know how to copy paste, clearly. Let's just do this. Nope. Man, why has it not copied the full thing? Let's try this again. Copy, paste. That's what I wanted. So let's try and just fix this indentation using DJ HTML. Podcast, templates, podcasts, episode list. Yep. Try that again. There we go. That's much better. So for episode, instead of an image, we're going to do the can we do the episode.podcast.image? We want the episode.title. We don't want this. We don't want this. Subscribe. Let's just see what this looks like here. Hopefully this will work. Okay, but we're not having the images render properly. Why is that? Episode.podcast. What happens if we just look at the src for each of these? Are we actually rendering anything? It seems to be empty. It's interesting, but the title is not empty. So what happens if we just do episode.podcast? It's because it's not image, is it? It's the image URL. Or image link? I think it was image link. Let's try this. Says there's a problem. Let's get rid of you. Is our server still running? It is. Okay, that's awesome. So you can see here that every week there's pretty much a Python Bytes and Talk Python to Me episode, and they seem to be in the correct order of which they were released. Is that correct? So yeah, this looks about right. So let's try and just prettify this up a bit more, and we might want to add some sort of like play buttons, or whether you've currently started watching the episode potentially, so we'll need to save some state to the database there in the future, I think. So time being, let's just say div class container, and then at the end here, does this look any better? It's a bit better, so let's add some padding. PA4, will this work? No, let's just try padding top 4 and see what we've got. There we go. Okay, so now we have the episode list. Let's try and link to this page, or have a link in a nav bar. So here in base, I think at the moment this is just completely empty, so I want to go to the Bootstrap documentation, and I want to look at the navbar example. So what do I want their components? Yeah, I want to just say navbar, and in here I want to just copy like this home example potentially. Where are we? So this is like the currently active. We don't currently have any logic in our template to show the currently active element, but perhaps that's something we can do in the future. I think for the time being I'll just leave this as inactive. So now we can say here episodes, and then here we can say the URL is going to be podcasts episode list, I think. Let's go back here, let's refresh this. Podcast is not a registered namespace. Are you sure? Maybe I can just do episode list, because we're in the podcasts app. Yeah, okay, so if I click episodes now, it's going to take me to the episodes page. If I click podcatcher, it's going to take me back home. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. Maybe we should also link back to the podcast itself, maybe in the image component. So in the episode list, maybe we can wrap this in like a href. Let's just see what this looks like if I do that. Does it mess up any of the formatting? It doesn't. Okay, that looks okay. And then we can say episode podcast, get absolute URL. So refresh this now. Click this. Okay, so it's going to take me back to the podcasts. Does the episode have like a description, maybe? We just copy this and say, I can't remember what exactly the class was called here, but let's just say episode description. Refresh this and see what happens. Okay, so that's pretty big, and it looks like there's HTML in there. Let me just have a look. We might have to chop off some of that content. Here they have card text and a paragraph, so let's steal that. Let's say card text. Let's have a look at you. Maybe this is too much information for each podcast, so let's abort that. Anything else that we should do here for the time being? I'm kind of happy with this. Maybe we could work on getting this centered, but to be honest, I'm not too sure how we would do that. Oh, the other thing I've just spotted is in our base template we have this like title block, so we can take advantage of that. So we can say block title. We want to say episode m block. So up here in the tab bar, refresh this. So now we're on the episodes. Then we go home. There's nothing. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to leave this, and in the next video we'll kind of think about how we can improve this a bit more, and adding maybe some play or pause buttons, much like we did here. So when you click here, it will start playing the episode. Yeah, so I will see you guys in the next one.